I know there's still some people connecting, but we will be sharing a recording of the webinar with everybody who's registered afterwards as well. So welcome everyone. My name is Michael Gardner, for those of you who don't know me, and I run Intecrowd in the Asia Pacific region. So really excited to be here with you this morning. Just some housekeeping before we get started. The webinar is being recorded, so if anybody has any issues with being on a recorded webinar, please disconnect. But the recording will be shared with all attendees after completion of the webinar. And then also, if anybody has any questions as we go through things, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, and we will address all of those at the end of the webinar. So if we can just carry on, Nick, on the first screen, I'll give you a very brief, okay, and of course the safe harbor statement. We will be addressing a number of forward-looking areas and items, and obviously treat that as a safe harbor statement. So I won't go through that much more, and I won't read it all to you. So just a little bit about Intecrowd for people who are not familiar with Intecrowd. We're a boutique services partner, meaning that all we do is Workday, and our entire focus is on Workday, providing Workday solutions globally. We've been in the market for about 5.5 years now, with about 160 employees, really right across the US, in Sydney, Melbourne, and then across the APJ region in India and Singapore, as well as a number of sites in Europe. Overall, we have a number of consultants across financial management, human capital management, integration services, and we've got a big and growing application management services business as well. And then last but not least, in the focus of today's webinar is around Workday Extend, which is formerly known as Workday Cloud Platform. And I won't get into that too much at this point. So we have, once again, I'm not going to be reading through everything, but we have got significant experience. We started out focusing very much on integrations, and a lot of our experience and a lot of our reputation in the marketplace came from the work that we did with integrations very early on in the Intecrowd days. We have successfully deployed over 3,000 Workday integrations across a number of clients and projects, and it's obviously been a big focus of ours, but we have extended both our capabilities and our experience to really everything else in the Workday space. We are a Workday Extend partner and have been from when Workday Extend or Workday Cloud Platform first came out. And we're also very proud to say that in the most recent Workday Hackathon, which I think was last week or the week before, where pretty much all the partners who, especially anyone who's got any Extend capability, was participating to develop Extend applications as part of the hackathon. We had 2 teams in it, and one of those teams won the hackathon. So congratulations to that team. But without any further ado about Intecrowd, I will hand over to Rob Pelosi to introduce himself. And thanks, Rob, and thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everybody. My name is Rob Pelosi. I'm the CTO and CIO of Intecrowd. I was the first employee that was hired by the founders to help build and run the company. And my background is in development and integrations. I was originally trained in Workday integrations back on Workday 13, quite a number of years ago now, 9.5 or so. And I've been on a lot of different Workday projects. And I'm certified in a lot of different areas of Workday. I'm a integration product lead with Workday, and to yet be announced, but expecting to be a product lead for Workday Extend as well. Been working with Workday Extend since it came out 3 years ago at a hackathon again. We'll talk more about its status and capabilities as we go through today, but we've been working with it from the beginning. So glad to be here and excited to talk to you about that experience today. Nicholas, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. Thanks, Rob. I'm Nicholas Trand. I'm a manager in our integration services department, and I'm our lead Workday Extend architect. I have over 20 years of technical experience and leadership in full stack custom application development, and I'm really excited to be able to use that experience now with Workday Extend. I've been in the ecosystem since 2016, focused on the cutting edge of Workday technologies, Extend, of course, as well as complex custom integrations and product development. And I'm certified in Workday Extend, Workday Studio, and third-party payroll integrations. I'm based out of Denver. Good to be talking to you today. I'll hand it back over to Rob.
Thanks, Nicholas. So what can we do with Extend? Well, we'll talk about that throughout the webinar, but just to kind of set the stage, you could build a new page or even a whole new application in Workday with Workday Extend. Maybe you want to track new data elements, or maybe you want to check in or check out some asset. You could streamline a business process and have new screens that made that easier or more specific to your business. You could replace another corporate application by building that capability within Workday Extend. You could also interact with Workday in the natural workspace or in some way outside of Workday itself, whether that's in a natural workspace environment like Slack or using Internet of Things to connect to other objects like, say, Teslas, to be able to connect and interact with Workday. So if that's the highlight of what it can do, and we'll dig into some more of those use cases and some examples and so on of that, let's talk a bit about what is it. So it is a set of development tools that allows us to extend Workday, quite simply. It allows us to create custom apps and deploy those to Workday and have those be available then in the same user experience, the same security model, the same consistent experience that everybody knows and likes in Workday, but with custom screens. And those custom screens can include conditional flows, transition between what screen comes next, depending on how things were answered, maybe conditional field values to update that, so that way it's customizable to make a screen with the things on it that is particular or needed in that particular app. Also custom worklets and custom tasks to be able to access those apps. It seamlessly weaves into the new people experience with Workday. It also allows us to include external data stores, being able to store other data elements and connect to pull in data elements that maybe are not native or stored or in Workday today. All of that is still part of the power of one, the part of the main Workday code line and safe for upgrades. So it's some really neat technology that they've used to allow us to extend Workday and still not come into conflict with the upgrades. So there's lots more capability coming in the future, and we've gotten to see and play with some of that, like we did at this hackathon last weekend that Michael was talking about. We've been able to do some pretty neat things with what we have so far. So let's talk about that a little bit. So Workday Extend itself, it's currently a separate SKU from Workday, so a separate license. It hit general availability at the end of May. But just because it's new to the market as far as generally available, doesn't mean that it's brand new. There are a number of customers who have over 90 live apps already. So a very robust early adopter and fast follower program to make sure that things were solid and working well and ready to go for general availability. As you come up with what you want to do with Workday Extend, those use cases do need to be reviewed by Workday. They want to make sure that people aren't reinventing something that Workday already has or is already planning to build. And then once that's approved, then clients get access to all the tools to be able to train their own people to do the development or to assist in the development or work on the design or maintain it as depending on their skill set of what they have. But certified partner resources like for us from Intecrowd need to assist to get people going and get the project rolling. And there's a lot to learn in Workday Extend, just like there is in the rest of Workday. And so we will be glad to help out and get the teams rolling and going on doing the development, or we can do the development for you and just have teams assist and learn as we go. So what are customers doing with that capability, with that potential? Well, first, they're tracking the employee discounts and deducting purchases from payroll. So if we need to have kind of a company store where we're keeping track of who uses who buys what and has an employee discount and so on, but let's pull that automatically from payroll instead of having to go around and about and apply a discount, but get the taxes right and whatnot. So extending payroll, having real-time interactions with employees, of being able to have Workday reach out into the workplace in real-time interactions. And we'll see an example of this in a minute, of notifying managers or collecting feedback from users and being integrated into the daily process of people working in their day-to-day jobs. Automated procurement, whether that be business cards or t-shirts, being able to select those options and then proceed with the procurement processes and interactions there is another thing that we've seen customers do. Hit the slide one more time there, Nicholas, please. Thanks. And then exposing other corporate systems for limited audiences, maybe the ability to do something or perform a task, whether that's a Workday task or even a task from some other corporate system, but wanting to have the power and flexibility of the Workday security model to enter those items and then interact with the system behind the scenes, to expose that in a consistent, user accessible, secured way would be another thing that some customers are doing. And finally, the data visualization, of being able to have rich interactive experiences with faceted searches and maps and charts and things that answer key business questions. Workday reporting is really strong in being able to show us some of that, and that continues to apply with Workday Extend. Whereas if we're doing custom app with custom data elements, then we can still have great, strong and visual reporting to go with that. And so our experience with Extend, we've been working on it the last 3 years. It came out initially at a hackathon 3 years ago this summer in 2017. And we showed up and they said, here, let's play with this new thing. And we got excited about it and have been working with it ever since. So hackathons every year. There's been some developer programs where we've been able to work with the product developers and learn about what are the capabilities here. There's a Workday Accelerate conference. We've done some billable projects. And so we've been gaining and building our experience and skill set with these tools, but then also leveraging our background of software development for both of our careers, from Nicholas and I and other members of the team, in order to be ready to do this and ready to help customers use Workday Extend. So some of the apps that we've worked with are Slack interactions, apps and bots in Slack to be able to interact with Workday, being able to collect data for local payroll, additional data fields that maybe local payroll data needs, being able to collect that in Workday and pass it through an integration instead of having to key it into the payroll system. Break time, we'll talk about that more in another slide or two. So I'll come back to that. But personal protective equipment issuance and tracking and deduction from payrolls as needed, or check in and check out of those PPE items. Company store with automated payroll deductions, service desk management, volunteer time off, Fitbit, vehicle fleet management, and asset tracking and miles and so on. So lots of neat things of being able to literally extend Workday out into the work environment, as well as extend its capability and do more in the browser too. So break time is one of those examples. So in California, in the US, there's some very strict rules about people after so many hours have to be offered a break. And if they're not offered a break, then you have to pay them an extra hour of pay. Well, sometimes they're offered a break and they forget to take it. And so that penalty hour still applies. And Workday has some really good reporting around this to show what happened and that it happened and that it took place. But it's all after the fact. It's already too late. The penalty hour is already owed to the employee. Maybe it's not the company's fault. But it could be the employee who forgot to take it. But it doesn't matter to California. They still want to see that the extra penalty hour gets paid to the employee. So that's the problem, and we want to find a way to be more proactive, to be more active in the real time rather than only being able to look backwards and see what happens. So Nicholas is going to take us through our solution for that problem.
Thanks, Rob. So break time is our solution to that California break problem, and it allows us to provide proactive monitoring of the missed breaks, get some additional context to help with the analysis of what's going on there in real time. And it's going to allow the company really to be proactive on how they want these outcomes to happen. And so what we're going to see here is I'm going to jump over to the tenant here. I'm going to run a report just to show that I've got nothing up my sleeve here. What we'll see is an empty report. So we have no break times, no missed breaks right now, or breaks at risk of being missed. So normally we will have the scheduled process that'll go into the tenant and check for workers based on their clock in and clock outs to see who needs to be taking a break. But for the demo, we're going to actually check that manually. So we're going to run this process. This is going to run a process in the back end that's going through and checking all of that time information in Workday. It's going to come back in a minute here. Let us know it sent 3 break time notifications. So let's set up this scenario. We're imagining, if you will, GMS coffee shop. It's got 2 locations in California. One's managed by Logan McNeil, one by Enrique Vasquez. And they want to keep track of these employee breaks real time, even if the managers are not there in the store or present to see what's going on with the workers. So if we look at what was generated by our process here in our Extend app, see that 3 workers have breaks coming up here. There's Maria and Betty who report to Logan in her store, and Terry in Enrique's store. And so what happens when the application notices that they need to take a break is that it's going to actually notify them. Those notifications can come to Workday notifications to their inbox. Can also go to email. So if we look in the email here, we're going to see that we've got a couple of notifications here. So let's check this again. So this one here is going to be Terry. So Terry gets his email on his phone while he's working in the store, and he goes, oh, wait, that's right, it is time for my break. I'm just going to go ahead and take that break. So it's going to leave that selected. Hits OK. Again, we're doing all of this in Workday. We tell him to enjoy his meal, and he is done. And that's all there is to that. But then let's look at another scenario. I'm going to look at Maria here. So Maria gets this notification. She knows she's got to respond to it from her training. So she goes in real quick to her app, and she says that she can't take break because the line is out the door. She has nobody to help her. So she's going to put that in. Now it's telling her that her supervisor's been notified that she intends to waive her meal break. So now when we go into this report and we look at what's being captured in the system, we'll find a couple of things here. We're going to see that now we can see Maria and Terry have both responded. So we have response dates for them. that for Terry, because he said he was not going to waive his meal break, his manager was not notified. But for Maria, she said, she gave this reason, which we're capturing, and she said she's going to waive the meal. So we're notified her manager, Logan McNeil. So if we look at Logan's notifications here, we'll see that Logan has been notified here in the system that her employee has opted to waive their break, and it gives the reason right here. Now, let's say Logan had stepped out of the store for a minute and she was unaware that it was backed up. Maybe another employee was supposed to show up and didn't. Now Logan has some information she can actually use in real time to ensure that the right outcome happens here, whether that's, yeah, there's nobody else, Maria's gonna have to work there and we'll have to give her the penalty hour, or whether that's maybe Logan goes back and tends the counter for Maria to take her break. Whatever that outcome is that the company desires, now we have a proactive way to get there. And as Rob mentioned, there are reports that'll show what happened after the fact, who's owed a penalty hour, who missed a break. But now, alongside that information that comes delivered with Workday, the company now has this additional context around what happened in the moment, what the reasons were for those waived breaks, and they can use that both to drive better training, better outcomes, and to do more detailed analysis on what's actually happening in their stores. So that is the power of this fairly simple little Workday Extend app that we've built here. Really gives a lot of power, a lot of proactive ability to the company. And that's an example of the kind of outcomes that we can create with Workday Extend. So if we jump back into the slides here, let's real quick touch on some of the main pieces of Workday Extend that we used in this particular solution. First of all, visual presentation services. That's the layer, if you will, that allows us to have a native Workday look and feel for that app. So all of that is happening in Workday using the same Workday components that your workers are used to using in the system. We're using REST APIs. You may be familiar with the old SOAP APIs that Workday has, very powerful, large interfaces that can be very challenging to use programmatically. We are using the newer REST APIs that come with Workday Extend that allow more targeted and sophisticated interactions with the data that's within your Workday tenant. We're also using the message API to be able to send those notifications along lots of different channels to the workers and managers. This particular app, we're also even extending further and providing some custom business logic and custom data storage using AWS, and that's seamlessly integrating with this Workday Extend application. So this is kind of a snapshot here with this application of the kind of power and flexibility that we're now able to build into Workday using Workday Extend. So I'll turn it back over to Michael now for questions.
Just one more point to summarize here, and that is that you may or may not have the need to do something like this break time application, but we submitted as an example to show you what kind of bespoke screens can be created and the specialized or customized interactions that we can create with the system for the benefit of your business and your particular business process using Workday Extend.
Great, thanks, Rob, and thanks, Nicholas. That is really interesting and really good. At the moment, I just have one question from the group. If there are any more, as I say, please use the Q&A functionality at the bottom of the screen. But one I've got here, really good one, is what would an Extend engagement look like? Rob or Nicholas, would you like to take that one?
Sure, I'll take it, Michael. And so there's a couple of parts to that answer. The first part is to figure out the use case, and we're happy to engage and talk about figuring out, brainstorming what is that, does your business need, and capturing enough of the requirements and documenting enough in order to understand that well. Workday has a form on Community that you can submit for the initial contact. And then there's a more detailed design document that needs to be completed with that to submit for approval. and we can help with the completion of that, that document. And then kind of in parallel to that process of getting your use case approved with Workday, you can be working on getting the license of Workday Extend from Workday. And then when both of those pieces come together, then we can engage and provide services, whether that means that we're doing the design and build of the application supported by the customer resources, or whether they're working on learning Workday Extend and we're providing some guidance and training and helping them do the build of the application based on our experience. So both are possible. Usually kind of a 12 to 15 week cycle once we get through the paperwork part of it and get going in the engagement, and then there's a design process and certainly a build phase and a testing phase, and then getting into deploying that to production and making sure everybody's ready to use it.
Great, thanks a lot, Rob. Robin, I have one more question. It was just related to the approval of use cases by Workday. So now that Extend is generally available, does Workday still need to approve use cases, and what is the process?
They do, and that's, again, a protection for everybody involved, to make sure that the customer isn't spending money to build something that maybe exists elsewhere in Workday that they were unaware of, or that Workday is already in the process of building and is going to be coming out with in the next release. They don't want to have customers to have to spend money on that, but also they want a chance to review it and make sure that the current capabilities of Extend are going to suffice and work successfully for the use case that the customer intends. And so the process is, as I was outlining before, there's a questionnaire to fill out on Community, which kind of about 5 questions and starts the process. And then there's a more detailed design document template that needs to be completed, describing the design of, or the preliminary design of the application, which again, we can help fill out either or both of those as needed. We have done it several times, and so we know a lot of what Workday is looking for in those answers that we can help guide a customer to indicate appropriately.
Great. Thanks a lot, Rob. And thanks, Rob and Nicholas. It's really interesting from my point of view, and I think it really just opens up so much in terms of what we are able to do with Workday. But thanks a lot for joining us all today. We will be sharing the recording of today's webinar with all of you, but please reach out to me. My contact details are on the next slide, and feel free to reach out to either myself, Rob, or Nicholas at any stage, but give me a call, and we're very happy to talk to you, understand the sort of things you're looking at, and help you to put together a solution that's really going to meet your requirements. But thanks again for joining us, and look forward to speaking to you all again soon. Thank you.